the barbershop? Yes, it is the barbershop. I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can we talk straight? We can't talk straight nowhere else. You know, this ain't nothing but healthy conversation. That's all.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 yards. It's a grand slam. He shoots downtown for 3. Next up to bat.
Here we are once again. Who's in the Barber Studio with Ray? Brought to you by Snoz Media. Just want to give you a little heads up on today's guest, Jorge Miranda. Bright young kid, known him for a long time. Seen him come up from from high school to an adult now. You know, he's doing a lot of big things, and he has a lot of great information for you guys out there in the cyber world. You guys out there on the internet and with all your apps and all this other stuff. This is something you're going to want to tune into. This is something you're going to want to watch. And I'm telling you, pay attention, take some notes, because I'm telling you, there's some info in here that, man, listen, it only goes down in the Barber Studio. So who do we have today in the Barber Studio with Ray?
My name's George, and been with you how long now?
I'll have to say at least 5.5 years.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, it's been a while.
22, 21... Yeah, since I was like 17.
Yeah, that's about right.
How old are you?
Whew. At that time, probably 34.
34.
Yeah, I'm an old man, bro. So, just so that everybody can kind of understand, you know, who you are and what you do. What is it that you exactly do? Like, how would you explain to people what it is that you do?
You know, Ray, this is a question I get a lot of times, and believe it or not, it's really, really difficult to tell you, because every single day something new happens. Every single day there's something new to worry about. So you don't handle those different things the same way. So when I get asked, you know, what is it that you do? It's more like asking, what did you do today?
Okay.
Tomorrow I have no idea what I'm going to do. Tomorrow there's going to be something else on my plate.
Okay.
However, in a nutshell, I mean, I basically make sure that computer systems, computer networks, and primarily everybody's information, private information that shouldn't be available to the public is properly secured and accessible and places, and is used in methods that doesn't put your data at risk. But in a nutshell, that's a lot of what I do. Within these topics, that includes, just to give you an idea, what do you think the most important thing is when it comes to making sure a business or an organization or somebody's information is safe?
What's the most
important thing to focus on? Would it be the computers? Would it be...
I think it might be like simple stuff, something that people don't really pay attention to.
And what do you think that is?
Well, the most simplest thing, I'd have to go with your login.
No, yourself.
Okay.
The people themselves. That's the most important part about cybersecurity. You can have the most advanced systems and, you know, certified by the Air Force and protects missiles and nukes, but the guy who's got the keys to the kingdom is a doofus, and, you know, doesn't do proper things properly, you know, then, or doesn't pay attention to what they're doing online, you know, none of that matters.
So what do you mean exactly? Like, give me an example.
Well, for example, one of the fun parts of my job is I get to make fake emails, and every single month, week, certain times of the year, I get to send them out to everybody in the company. So you kind of like messing with everybody in the company, because you look around the office and you see everybody's reactions. They're like, what the hell is this email? And you just look around, they all just look at you. They all just look at you.
What's in the email?
Well, every single email is unique, because when hackers try to get into your things, they're not just, there's some, I'm sure you've gotten those emails that have absolutely nothing to do with you.
Oh yeah, some random chick all of a sudden, oh, you remember me?
Exactly.
Never even heard of the girl's name.
Exactly.
I'm like, who are you? No.
However, at one point, that stuff did work. It had a high success rate. But what happened? Somebody, or everybody, either on their own or through word of mouth, finally learned.
Start figuring it out.
Yep. And in theory, they educated themselves.
Okay.
However, if you put me into the mix and put me at your business, I can do that job for you, as opposed to you waiting for them to figure it out on themselves. That makes you very, that alone is very powerful when it comes to protecting your stuff.
Okay. Now, like we talked earlier, you know, we've known each other for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What was it exactly, like, a 17-year-old kid, what made you think that, oh, this is the kind of field that I want to get into, cybersecurity? Because back then it was important, but like not a lot of people were really talking about it or knowing how exactly to get into a field like that. So what made you want to get into that?
Again, this is another question I get very, very often. However, I do have a good answer for this one. Now, I didn't really get into this field. I didn't really expect to at all. Never. Prior to me making the decision to do it, I never had it on my mind. It was a topic that was completely irrelevant to me. I had no idea what it was. And at the time, I was trying to become a police officer, and I was really destined to do it. You know, it didn't require too much. It didn't require too much effort. You know, eventually it's a good paying job, and you know, you got your good benefits and whatnot. And you know, at 18 years old, it's like, what more can you want? You know, I wasn't too focused on doing anything in school. Just doing enough to get a solid job was enough for me. But eventually, that didn't work out. However, and I was already halfway through a degree in criminal justice, so kind of transferred schools and took a leap. And I just asked my advisor one day. I'm like, all right, so what else can I do here? I have all these law enforcement classes. Like, what else can I do here? He's like, oh, we can do a bachelor's in security systems. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, do it with cameras and all that, right? He's like, no, it's mostly computer security. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That was kind of when it was like, all right, that's a thing. And I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. And
so you got into this not even knowing that this thing existed.
No, nah, whatsoever.
So it was like somebody just magically said, hey, here's your future.
Yeah, I didn't even know how to use a computer, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I barely, I knew how to, but, you know, I just, nothing.
And now look at you.
Yeah, I still can't use it, but, you know, but it's something that, because of the fact, like I said, that this stuff changes every day, it's not hard to pick up. Because you're not picking up from scratch. You're just picking up from where the world is right now. Stuff 10 years ago stops to, you know, doesn't matter. As time passes, things don't matter really, really quickly. Kind of like trends that happen today. What's trending last month is not really what's trending this month. So as long as you're up to date with what happened this month, you sound like an expert.
Okay.
You know?
So pretty much as long as you're, you know, keep your ear to the floor and you're paying attention to all the new technology and all the new computers and what they can do, as long as you understand all that stuff, you should be all right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my job is based on research. I have to do a bare minimum amount of research every single week, and that involves everything from reading about celebrities getting hacked and celebrities, and you know, a 17-year-old in Florida hacking a bunch of Twitter accounts. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, it was a 17-year-old in Florida, and you know, reading about that, and other things is, you know, reading about what happens to financial institutions, other financial institutions in the country, you know, being abused and exploited. But yeah, you have to remain really, really conscious and up to date with what's going on, because All it takes is one day. The same way the coronavirus happened. Same way a computer virus.
Now, if you could give some sort of advice, what is the main mistake that you see a lot of people making, like just regular everyday people, when it comes to getting their stuff, either their accounts hacked or getting their identity stolen? Like, what are the most common mistakes that you see that people make?
People, believe it or not, one of the best ways of making sure that your information is safe, and not just making sure that your information will never be completely safe, let's just put it that way, but making sure you're less probable to fall for something. Honestly, some people just have too many accounts. Some people make too many accounts for stuff that they use once and never ever use again. But guess what? Your information is out there. It's sitting there like a duck. Do you have any idea what that company you dealt with 7 years ago is doing? What if they got hacked?
Yeah.
You think
Or how about the terms of agreement?
Exactly.
Did we really read the terms of agreement, or did we just check the box?
Exactly.
Okay.
But I find it very effective to have little email, accounts created with one email.
Okay.
Because if you really don't need something, don't put your information out there. It's just making it more probable, and you're just spreading the risk around. And if you keep all your stuff in one place, you'll notice when something's going on.
Alright. What would you say would be like the best way to keep yourself protected at? What steps exactly could someone take that does need to use a lot of stuff?
Right.
And how could they protect themselves?
Well, there's a couple ways you can do it, but if you really want to protect something, you need to make sure that the only way that someone can obtain your information is by them knowing who you are, what you have, and what you know. So, what does that mean? If somebody needs to know who you are, what you have, and what you know in order to get into your account, that's three very, very hard things to overcome. So, who you are is basic, and we all use it. Who you are is your username and your password. Everybody uses that to log in. Now, if they know who you are, and that's all they need to know to get in there, then that's all they need to know, and it's easy. It could be a lot easier to get into that account if they only need to know who you are, which is identified with your username and password. However, if they also have to have something that you actually have physically. For example, Ray, have you ever had to get a text message, like a second text message before?
Oh yeah, to prove who you are, we'll send like a code or something,
exactly.
And you gotta
Exactly. That means that you're verifying what you have. What do you have? Your phone number and your cell phone in your hand.
Okay.
So you're now verifying who you are and what you have. Now, the last part is what you know. Now, what I mean by that, those weird those questions that they make you answer, what you know?
Your mother's maiden name,
yeah,
your first dog.
Yeah, I still don't know what maiden name means, but
that's your mom's last name before she got married.
My mom didn't get married,
so that's your mom's last name.
No, but so if you put all those things together, now imagine how annoying it is. It would be trying to get into an account like that. It's not even worth it. Trying to find out, you're gonna have to steal someone's phone. You're gonna have to find out their mother's maiden name, and you're gonna have to have their email and password. So I don't know. It makes it not worth it. But if you don't do these things, then it just you're
leaving yourself open.
Yeah, but you're just much more attractive to people that want to get your stuff. They're like, wow, this is gonna be easy.
That's true.
You're not trying to break into. What do you want to break into? The house with a deadbolt or the house with a little doorknob?
That's true.
Yeah, you got to think about all that, and it's funny, Ray. You know the internet. Do you know where the internet came from at all? I think you know. Didn't we talk about this once?
Possibly.
The internet was not a mistake, but it was never meant for the public. It was created back in the 70s. 70s or 60s, one of those. Between that time, it was created by the internet. The military, the Navy actually. And you want to guess why they created something like that?
No, they want to, just I guess keep an eye on what you're doing.
No, this was prior to anybody even having anything on the internet.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, they used it for the ARPANET, and that was basically back in, I believe, the Cold War era, and not Cuban Missile Crisis, but everybody freaking out about somebody dropping a nuke on us.
Alright.
They invented that so that if something like that happened, states within the United States would be able to communicate with each other.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
In reality, this was invented expecting a doomsday. And, I mean, it never happened, but without realizing it, they created something crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts. Now, let's fast forward into, like, stuff like what people do today. Like, everyday normal stuff. Like,
yeah.
Like, kind of like, people go to the store and they're not walking around with cash on them, and they have, like, all these different cash apps. They literally have Cash App, Venmo, or Zelle, or all this other stuff, different ways, PayPal, to pay you without actually using cash.
Yeah.
Like, how, like, one, what is your thought on those types of apps? And two, if someone does have those types of apps, what is their actual security like?
Well, I actually deal with these on a day-to-day basis, and it's really difficult because I'll tell you one thing: your bank and Venmo, they're going to be arguing whenever something happens to you. They're going to be arguing about who takes responsibility and who's going to have to reimburse you. They don't like playing with each other, financial institutions and Cash App, some of these locations, because they have to constantly fight over who's going to have to compensate whenever somebody's credentials are stolen. And I mean, if you're leaving your credentials on your desktop, saved right there on the file, and somebody just get a little virus and somebody accesses your desktop, and your things are there, which happens literally 40 times every second.
Wow.
And
40 times a second?
At least. In the world, globally, there's like triple, quadruple the amount of computers there are than humans. You think about it. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane, but it's unfortunate because people aren't careful with people expect everybody else to take care of them. The bank does have their insurance, it's insurance, but it's not there to, you're not really supposed to even use it. It's not there for
just in case they get robbed.
Yeah. Something like that.
That's what it's really for.
Yeah?
Well, let's be honest, come on.
Yeah. Where was I going with that?
Anyways, no, it's alright. You had touched on something in there, and I just want to ask real quick, because you have a lot of these companies that claim to sit here and, oh, we can protect you and we can do that, like LifeLock.
Yes.
Like, what is the difference in me just making sure I don't go around and sign up to a whole zillion bunch of apps and have my information out there? Instead, I'm going to go and still do that anyways, and then hire somebody else to go watch it for me. Like, how do I know that they're not going to get hacked? What's the difference?
The difference is that, there is none, to be honest with you. There's nobody that's going to protect you and defend against you. Like, what are they going to do? They hack the other person back? Which is actually a topic. It's actually a big dispute right now, whether or not retaliation, whenever something bad happens to you, hacking the other person back.
That's a thing?
That's a thing. Microsoft had to do it. Microsoft did it to, I forgot what other country, but they had a big network of like virus computers all over the world infecting Microsoft computers. Microsoft was begging the United States government to help out, like hack these people back and shut them down. After years, they were like, screw it, let us do it. We don't need your help.
Oh,
and
wow.
last year they took it down. So this was the first time where it was like the first example where this succeeded.
Yeah.
Succeeded. But now the question is, like, going forward, should small companies be able to do this? Should you be able to do this?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean,
It's an
how else do you fight back? Now that's an interesting point that you brought up. How you said that the United States government had gotten involved and it was another country and all that stuff like that. But
That's a good one.
no. That's.
I knew you were gonna like it.
I want to know one thing. All right.
Sure. All right.
Because I'm not trying to delve into the political pool here. I don't have time for the nonsense. I don't care who you like. I really don't care who you voted for in the last election. My question is this, all right? This is not just for me. This is for everybody out there, all right? Is it possible and is it likely that the election could have been or is actually being like hacked or like messed around with
Yep.
Through computers and stuff like that?
I actually wrote a paper about this. Believe it or not, yes. The answer is yes. Did it determine who won? It's hard to say, but it did happen.
But there was an influence?
There is by a company.
Wow.
The company is called Cambridge Analytica.
That's nuts.
But, like I said, it is a huge...
No, that's scary because when you think about it, it's like, all right, if another country can influence how our elections are won and lost, where is that going to leave us? It's scary.
No,
But like I said, I don't want to dive too much into that political pool because it's just too much. It is.
It's crazy. It was actually a company in Europe that I believe was like bought out, or,
Yeah.
like, on the back end, kind of like funded by China. So that's kind of how that was. But the theory on that is that it's really difficult to point fingers. But let's put it this way: China and Russia both really want to influence our people through the internet. They create millions and millions and millions of fake accounts based on trending events in the United States. The Black Lives Matter movement, the previous election, the coronavirus, all these topics. There's millions of Facebook and
Oh, so they get like bots and stuff to jump
Yes.
onto. That's what you're saying.
they're only-
Not that they're the ones creating the movement.
no,
Okay.
and believe it or not, they're getting better at it. They're getting a lot better at it, and it's a bit on the.
That's what those bots are on all those Instagram
Yep.
accounts and all those.
Yep.
Ah,
But
that's
it's scary. Some of them now reply to you. It's pretty scary thinking about it. But that's just one of our problems. And honestly, this is a recent problem that came up. Other people having influences. I believe there was another country. We're not. The thing is, you got to understand too. We're not the only people who are falling victim to this.
this is a world thing.
This is a China and Russia and Iran. All these people are kind of influencing each other's elections thanks to powers, abilities that are now granted in cyberspace. It's not just us. I'll tell you that much. And that's the other thing when it comes to typically issues within countries are just that country's problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like certain
It's like an issue in, we'll just say in DR
Yeah.
is an issue for DR.
Yeah, it's not really an issue for us.
Yeah.
But the thing with computer networking and cyberspace and cybersecurity and all that, the moment something happens, right? The moment somebody gets hacked, another country gets hacked, their election, let's say, is discovered to have been rigged. Think of the worst things. Their biggest financial institutions are being hacked. Their oil companies are being hacked. Somebody's holding the oil for ransom. people blowing up nuclear facilities with viruses, stuff that's all, this is all realistic stuff that's almost happened or it has happened. And the thing is, in cybersecurity, once something happens, it's not somebody else's problem. It's your problem. If you're connected to the internet, that's your problem too. That's your company's problem. So if you see all of a sudden, countries, other countries having really, really difficult times with somebody really trying to get at them, you've got to be on high alert too, because it's not just you're not waiting for airplanes to fly over your country. You're waiting for somebody to hit a button.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Now, there's always been a lot of heat between all countries with immigration's status and all that other stuff. And with like technology advancing, and have you ever heard of, or have you ever seen, or do you see in the future maybe somebody like hacking and changing their entire immigration status, like going from illegal immigrant to all of a sudden, boom, they're a full-blown citizen, and they've been a citizen for years. Technology does get into the hands of the wrong people.
Yeah. No.
And I'm not saying where people come from. No. An immigrant is an immigrant is an immigrant.
Yeah,
I don't care where the hell you come from. If you're not from a certain place and you go to that place to become a citizen, you're an immigrant. Doesn't matter where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, with the influence with the elections and all the political and media influence as well, because that's another thing, with the technology and the media influence, do you see, or could you see something like that happening where they start changing people's immigration status?
You know what? That's actually scary, because I feel like that's something that's already happened. I don't know, but you know what I'm thinking the moment you said that?
Yeah.
I know we can talk about, people like, people living in the U.S., definitely trying to, have a life here, and people, that thought can come to mind first. You know what I'm thinking about?
What?
Spies.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true.
Spies.
It is definitely a possibility, but it's just something.
I'm thinking of somebody coming over here, tapping into, while he's waiting at TSA, tapping into that, making himself a passport.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have never heard about that, but I feel like if it's something you research, if it hasn't happened already in the U.S., I bet you a little, like, an underdeveloped country, it's happened over there.
Wow.
There has to be another location.
Well, yeah, because you know what it is? In a lot of third world countries,
it's a lot easier to do.
It is. It is a lot easier. Security's not as, big as it is here. People are not as advanced. And people are going to go in and break through security walls and firewalls and stuff like that very easily. And I never thought about that.
You know who had a very good cybersecurity team?
Who?
El Chapo.
Well, yes, I read that he really did. Like, his security team was legit.
Yep.
Now,
I think his whole team was legit.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
Where do you see yourself with all the knowledge that you have, right? Because just like you said, every day is a growing thing, right? It's not what you do, it's what did you do today, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you told me.
Yep.
So with that being said, and all this knowledge that you have, and the knowledge that you've helped me keep myself safe, with my emails and stuff, and having all these different accounts on apps and different devices and stuff like that, which I thank you for.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see yourself going from here? Because if this is an ever-growing thing, you can go anywhere with this, as far as what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and realistically, people think that in cybersecurity, you gotta hack into stuff and all of a sudden, know how to develop viruses and be an expert at just technical things. But in reality, cybersecurity is an entire subject. It's not just about technology. It is and it isn't. But let's say tomorrow, they discover a bug where anybody can access your bank account. with just everybody has this one password in the whole world where Chase Bank, you know, you can get into that bank account. That password got leaked. I don't know. They forgot it, and all of a sudden somebody found it. So, do you think Chase is going to release something on the spot?
Well, probably not.
No, it takes time. It takes a whole operation. There has to be a whole giant procedure and a whole giant voting and research, and there's a whole. It's going to take at least 2 weeks, but for a big company like that, at least a month. For for every vulnerability, you know how long it takes for a company to figure out how to fix it? Like, let's say...
on average, how long does it take to fix a case?
Let's say your laptop, the model camera that's in it, they discover there's a really easy way to get into it. Or just, let's say, any security camera.
Okay.
How long do you think it takes that company to fix that problem?
I'll say on average 2 years.
You know what? It's actually about 6 months. But for smaller companies, let's say like smaller name brand companies, I mean they can honestly, some of them don't even release it. They discontinue the product before. You know, it's sometimes it's not even worth the money for what you're making off the product.
Okay.
So, what was that question? One more time.
Like, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself?
Oh yes.
With all this knowledge and everything constantly changing, like, where do you see yourself in the future? Like,
with as diverse as this topic is, I can't see myself being in one location my entire life, in one subject. But I see myself in about 3 locations. I do want to work for the government.
Okay.
I want to work, on those secret projects, you and I have talked about sometimes. I do want to get that.
We're gonna get abducted now, great.
Now we're on live. I do want to do some kind of work like that. I would love to. Personally, I would love to. Not for nothing, the best cybersecurity technologies. A lot of them apply and are developed within the military. And working with, personally, I'm not going to join the military, but working near the military is kind of cool.
Like a civilian.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunities doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, people defending bases, air bases. It takes a lot of stuff to defend, a lot of time, money, resources to defend. But nevertheless, I'd like to do something like that. The other thing I'd like to do is, personally, I'd like to consult privately, maybe make a private practice.
Okay.
Consult organizations on how to protect their organization. Every organization is completely unique. Every organization is going to have different flaws or potential issues that can happen. Johnson & Johnson?
Yes.
I think we've had this conversation before. The 2 type of products they make?
No.
Do you know what they did in World War II?
No, I don't.
In World War II, Johnson & Johnson, the baby company, the baby product company, they made bombs.
Really?
World War II, yeah. So, let's say Johnson & Johnson, I think they still do, actually. I'm pretty sure they still do. So, they make baby bottles and bombs, right? Do you think you're going to protect both with cybersecurity the same way? No. Right?
No. I think the bomb part might be a little more secure.
The bomb factory?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, believe it or not, some business owners would argue you protect everything the same way. So,
I mean, you should protect everything the same way, but let's be honest, the people don't look at their stuff that way.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And some organizations need a lot more. For example, let's put it this way: if a little let's say accounting firm with like 5 employees in it, right? All of a sudden they get hacked and they get ransomware, and all of a sudden all their files are getting encrypted, and that hits the fan, and it's an emergency. The best thing to do in that situation is honestly freaking pull the plug.
Wow.
Like that's the best thing to do. No, that's an organization. That's a strategy. That's considered a logical response method. But when Chase Bank gets hacked like that, you gonna just pull the plug? You know?
Yeah, no, you
You're
can't.
not.
No, you can't. No, you do.
It's you really have to take time and effort into planning. You have to plan for the worst. That's honestly what a lot of cybersecurity is also. You want to plan for every single horrible scenario possible that you could think of. And plan for it, and if it never happens, then good. But if it does happen, you're not scrambling and pulling plugs. You're like, okay, let's shut down this network, transfer all the data to this network, deploy backups, backup the backups.
There's a lot of stuff that's
you gotta
involved.
back up the backup. You know, companies like Chase, they have their data physically transported to different locations in the world. In case, like, let's say all their digital data is gone, right? It's just gone. All the financial information in the world for JP Morgan is gone. They, on a monthly or weekly basis, I forgot what it is, transport all of their data to different parts of the country, of the world. So, like I said, consulting
has its benefits.
Consulting takes a lot of diversity. Like, you could learn all the technology in the world, but if you don't know how to do it safely, how to actually use it properly, then all you're going to be doing is responding and probably making more issues if you don't do it properly. So consulting and some things like that. I mean, obviously on my own time, I love getting on the computer and just seeing what I can do. Yeah. Googling stuff. That's how I see myself personally.
When it comes to like home security, right, and cameras and stuff like that, what would you recommend? Like, because I myself have been looking into, some security cameras for my house, and I just keep seeing all these, wireless this, Bluetooth that, and I'm still, I'm an old school dude. I have no problem with this closed circuit television. So what would you recommend in a situation like that for somebody's home?
I mean, if it's your home, why not closed circuit? You don't have to deal with. I do see the benefits. Things like that you can't really access remotely. But as far as just having video footage, just do closed circuit and call it a day, because as beneficial it is to, just in technology in general, as beneficial as it is to have all these nice features.
I can turn on the lights from my phone.
Yeah.
So I've never been a fan of stuff like that.
Why not?
Because this is why. Because I've had too many conversations with you. Oh. Because that if I could do it, that means somebody else could do it.
Exactly.
That's the way I look at it. If I could do it, what makes me think that somebody can't sit here and hack my account and then all of a sudden open my door when I'm not home? Why? Just because I wanted to have an app that opened up that turned on my lights and was like home security, and I can see when I'm in the supermarket, I can see my yard, and I don't know if that's so beneficial if somebody else can actually get into it. Now, the convenience of it, I understand. Yeah, if something is going on in your house and you're like 20 miles away, you can at least report it faster because you have the ability to do so because you can see what's going on. But just because you can see what's going on doesn't mean that somebody else can either.
Yeah, and this goes back to this. What's up?
No. I'm looking at the cut. Go ahead.
This goes back to what I said earlier about people just opening accounts after accounts after accounts and just using them once and never using them again, just leaving their information out there. Now, let's be real. Some of these devices, man, these light bulbs and all that stuff, and this stuff that turns on the sprinkler, and you could turn on the sprinkler while you're in the shower and whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Whatever other, I don't know, man. People are getting lazy, but
who are you telling?
That's really what it is.
Yeah, technology makes us all lazy.
But actually, there's actually a quote I just want to mention. Laziness is the creator of all great inventions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand that.
But let's be real. We've all bought a piece of technology that we have to register to use and have to create an account. And you set everything up and you put it in your house and you're expecting to use it a lot and you only use it like 4 times. Like maybe those light bulbs. Maybe you only really use them like 4 times. It's better. I don't know. Sometimes you just buy things that you don't really even use. And again, if you put your information into those things that you're barely even using and barely even touching, just to be able to say I can turn on my light while I'm sitting at the bed, it's almost not worth it. It's silly. You gotta delete your accounts. Try to deactivate them. Email it. Even if you just gotta shoot a quick email, 2-3 minutes. Like, hey, do me a favor. Can you deactivate my account?
Yeah.
And or at least try your best.
And unsubscribe.
Yes.
Oh.
I've been
unsubscribe.
To the
That is
emails.
that's another way to save money. A lot of people don't realize. But this little interview has set off a lot of light bulbs for myself, and I hope for others that are listening as well. To help protect themselves with their own information and what they're doing out there, and how crazy it really is out there. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't necessarily not exist. And that's a lot of thing that people don't realize. This internet, this magic world that people live on, does have consequences. It really does. But with that being said, we are now in the part of my favorite segment on the show, which is impossible questions, impossible answers. Here we go. So, your mother has been working hard for like 1.5 years, right? Straight. No days off.
Yep.
Right? She gets this one day. She doesn't say anything. She goes and she plans a day just to be with you, to do anything that you want to do. All right? Spoil you in any which way she wants. You know what I'm saying? Or, all right, and this is the impossible part.
Sure.
Your girlfriend's parents are renewing their vows, okay, on the same day. And you can only go to one. And your mom's next day off is not going to be for another 3.5 months. There's the little kicker.
Yeah.
So, the question is, George, what do you do?
Sorry, man. I'm hanging out with my mom.
All right.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I couldn't do that.
You couldn't do that?
No.
I understand.
What do you think?
I know. I would pick my mom too. I would have told Shirley to be like, listen.
I'm sorry.
You gonna have to figure out another date, or tell them to move the day. You can figure that out. But no, I'm gonna go hang out with my mom.
Yep.
All right. Here's another impossible question, and then I'll leave you with this. This is the end of the cut. You dip yourself in chum. Do you know what chum is? You ever watch Shark Week?
Yeah.
Chum is that stuff that they throw into the guts.
Yeah.
Okay. You take a dive into some chum, right? And then jump into the ocean and go shark diving with no cage.
Okay.
Or go speeding past state troopers with 10 kilos of coke in the back seat. And there's nobody to slow them down from getting you. What do you do?
Well, what kind of car am I driving?
Any car you want. Doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They're on your tail. They're on your tail.
Man. It is Shark Week.
It is Shark Week. That's why I had to bring up the shark question. I love sharks. I myself am a big fan of the South African great white.
I'm more of a hammerhead. Oh, man.
Here we go. Come on.
I don't know, man.
Either way, you're going down.
No, let me think about it. How many sharks?
It doesn't matter. You're going into the ocean, shark-infested waters.
I guess if you're gonna go the good way. You know, I'll be with the Sharks for a bit.
All right. Yeah.
I hit my last. It's a good memory. It's not the worst way to go.
It's not the worst way to go,
Yeah.
but it is a scary way to go. Well, thank you, George, for your time.
Thank you.
I hope you like your cut. I hope you enjoy your cut.
Yes, sir.
And all right, so George, where is it that people can reach you if they want, if they have any questions or anything like that? Where can they hit you up at?
You can find me on Instagram, jmiranda151. Right there on Instagram. I'd be happy to help with anything you need.
All right, guys. As again we close out our show, I hope to see you again next week. Peace.
Wait. Hold on here. Is this the barbershop? Is this the barbershop? Yes, it is the barbershop. I mean, we can't talk straight in the barbershop. Then where can we talk straight? We can't talk straight nowhere else. You know, this ain't nothing but healthy conversation. That's all.